pineapple owl. I'm a pineapple owl. Pineapple owl. I'm a pineapple owl. Pineapple owl. I'm a pineapple owl. I'm sweet. I got a beat. Just look at me. What do you see? Pineapple owl. I'm a pineapple owl. Pineapple owl. I'm a pineapple owl. Pineapple owl. I'm a pineapple owl. Pineapple owl. I'm a pineapple owl.
All right. Welcome.
I'm a pineapple owl. I'm a
Pineapple owl. It's Wowl. It's a pineapple owl. It's a Wow Wednesday. Welcome.
It's dangerous. This AI stuff is dangerous. It's gonna kill us all. But also, you get pineapple owl out of it. So it's like an even trade.
PG. That's the PG Wowl, right?
That's like the G rated.
We did get a little outside of that the last time we ran.
I had to counteract it. Like there's also non-weird ways to generate pineapple owls. They don't all have to be weird,
right? Well, we were asking for it because we did put seductive pineapple owl in the description,
and we got it in spades.
Well, and as we were talking in the green room, it's like one of the first elements that we were ever introduced to AI was through Maria, out of Fritz Lang's silent movie from 1927, Metropolis, and she was designed as the first sex bot. So hey, you never know.
Yeah, would we have AI? Would we even have PlayStation if it weren't for those early days?
Right, and it's, I guess, desire and passion that lead development and progress. I guess is the way to put a positive spin on it. But
I mean, I grew up in the 90s, like when I was old enough to understand and play video games, and I remember Lara Croft being like a pioneer in 3D platformers for almost. Yeah, like I don't even, because I was 13 and Lara Croft was the shit. So
Leisure Suit Larry for those who are older.
Yeah, dude, I actually called the hotline and paid the $3 or whatever to get to whatever. I can't remember what the tip was. It was something to do with like
Grand Theft Auto. I mean, all of this had like these elements of.
I was gonna say it wasn't Wolfenstein. It was Doom, right? Where you paid
they were the same underlying engine, but yeah.
You're talking about the Duke Nukem strip club, yeah.
Or Duke Nukem.
That was Duke Nukem. That's right.
Yes, Duke Nukem. Thank you. All right, so I guess it's like with every Illuminati version you get. Piece you get out of AI, you also get a PG friendly one. Oh yeah, plug the Illuminati.
Oh yeah,
we'll talk about it more. We'll do the plugs in a little bit after everyone's all like nice and warmed up.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. I guess we're kind of on a different kick than usual, but hey, here we are.
Andreas will be joining at some point. Anywho, yes.
What's the normal kick? Give me a little sampling.
It's WooWoo Wednesday, so who knows at this point.
But it's a Wowl spin, right? So you gotta have that seductive owl, or what was it? Illuminati
whistle,
owl,
right? The Wowl whistle, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it. Before we went live, we were talking about a few things, and one of them is the paranoid American. Well, he gets a little bit paranoid when you ask him if he's a Freemason.
Why are you dude? It's not even.
We're starting the game early, right? So
I think Hans can. Well, I'm not even gonna ask Hans to confirm but I found out recently if you get accused of being a Freemason in public by a non-Mason, you're required to put on a hat for at least a few minutes. And apparently it works in chat too. If someone in chat calls me out as a Mason and I'm not wearing a hat, like I can get in trouble. I can get in actual trouble with my lodge, apparently. So don't do it again though, because it keeps escalating. Please
So
don't.
it's not a
So
game, or
being a
is it?
symbolist, I got to ask about the double-headed eagle and the yeah, that's interesting.
Well, now you're gonna try and get me killed, which seems a little unfair.
No,
I
all
don't
good.
feel like I've volunteered for that yet. I mean, we can get into it, but you're literally gonna have me killed.
No, we're not. So we won't delve too to.
Well, what
I do
what
appreciate
is
I do appreciate not being murdered.
so what gets you murdered? Like, we were kind of discussing that we were going to kind of discuss this live before. Does it get the stream killed or us killed, or what do you swear to in 2024 when you commit to these secret societies? Like, are you swearing your soul? Are you actually swearing your life? Do they
A lot of
actually
internal information
by
that
death?
you just can't talk about. And so, I mean, on the surface, you can be like, "Hey, I'm a Mason," but depending on your rank, same with Templar, same with Rosicrucian Order. Depending on your rank, there's a lot of stuff that you can't disclose. And so,
Well, so
Or else
came up.
what's the punishment? Well, like, what
don't
actually happened?
really know. Yeah, interesting.
Well, the last big one was apparently William Morgan, which is what reinvigorated the whole entire anti-Masonic movement in the late 1800s.
Yeah,
And that was that he promised that he was going to reveal all the secrets, all the handshakes, all the everything, even though it had already been done, I think, like years before. But he was going to unveil even more juicy details, and he turns up dead. Allegedly, there's actually some rumors that he might not even been a real person, but I believe he was. For the record, I believe it was a real person. I believe that he did get murdered for saying that he was going to reveal secrets, and despite all of that went down, all the secrets were revealed. Every handshake. If you go online right now, I'm not
I
you
have
can
it online.
find it
I
all.
can verify from the 1 year that I spent as a Mason that I never made it past the first degree, but I did go online before even going through that first degree's initiation, and I was able to read. I actually, the first night, I read the first 10 degrees initiations, one after the other, before
All
the night before I
codexes,
went
yeah.
in for the first degrees initiation. I went in for that first degree initiation. It played out exactly like action for action, word for word, as I had read that was written in the description.
See, and I would
leaked.
make a very strong argument to not do that.
Yeah,
because
it ruined the experience.
Not only does it ruin the experience, like reading a synopsis of a movie that could have been like real, like if you like the Dust Till Dawn's one of my favorite examples of this. If you read the synopsis and a few reviews of Dust Till Dawn, the old Quentin Tarantino movie, and and spoiler alert, so like plug your ears, whatever, you haven't seen the movie, because I do recommend not to go in blind. But if
It's
you
an
read
awesome
the synopsis and the synopsis tells you, oh, this is a vampire movie, then like you watch the first half and you're like, where the hell are the vampires? You know what I mean? But if you go into that movie blind and you're like, okay, it's like a kidnapping bank robber movie, this is kind of cool, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute,
it's the hero's journey.
Is
It's
this a
the hero's
freaking
journey?
vampire? But see, if someone were to say it, and it's the same thing with like Sixth Sense. If someone you start watching The Sixth Sense and they're like, oh, this is that movie where Bruce Willis is dead the whole time, and it's like, okay,
you don't get that till the last 5 minutes of the movie.
right? But and then also though, there's like the concept of like in an NLP sense, right? Like things that make a really big impression to you, that take you by surprise, that you weren't expecting, make a bigger impact on you. So if you go in blind to some of this stuff, like a movie or whatever, like Sixth Sense, and you make it all the way to the end, and you're like, oh wow, they actually tricked me, I didn't realize, and you have that revelation at the moment you're supposed to, it makes that movie way more memorable and enjoyable than it would have if you went in knowing all the stuff. So anyway, that's my take on it.
Legitimately, like, I can honestly say that's like how I felt afterwards. I was like, shit, like it actually was pretty weak and lame, like from
So take that experience.
knowing exactly what it was, and then I was like, oh wow, and now I've already read through the next 9 that are going to come if I were to pursue it, and already know what's happening.
And you probably showed up already lubed up, right? Because you read ahead and you knew that you'd want lube for part of that initiation ritual, And part
All
of
right,
the
I'm
fun is
I'm
not
not
having to
sure
leave.
what's going on in the American lodges, but
Oh, that's right.
it's
Canada has the
definitely a
fake
little different
masonry.
than the Canadian, I guess.
So
But
so take that first experience and then put it inside of the king's chamber and inside of the box, and it becomes something very different because you're having the Hiram Abiff experience without, without the lodge. I mean, it's the original lodge. So yeah, it's interesting for sure.
so yeah, it's like that kind of like just took the energy out of it from like the beginning for me. It was at a point like in my life where it was in the height of my usage of the prescription opiates and that addiction and stuff. So I like didn't really take the whole experience too serious either and whatnot. But at the same
How's your
time,
memory work when you're on when you're addicted to opiates?
oh
Because
God, like
it
so
seems like it wouldn't be easy to memorize like a book's worth of
It's
material.
like a syrup, I'd imagine.
oh, that right there, one of the reasons why I never challenged the
You
second
get like a
degree
page and a half in, and it's like,
I need to go
That-
back to the beginning.
being
yeah.
set.
Can we start over from the whole lodge? Just like lets out a groan. It's like Jesus, this guy in his 40-minute freaking initiation here. Like, get your catechisms in order,
Honestly.
my friend.
Right? Like, yeah. Eddie,
Did you get the little catechism book?
the what? Like the
Oh, have I
blue
said
book?
too much? Oh
The
shit.
blue book? Which
No,
one?
they give you a like Cliff Notes. Yeah.
Yeah,
If in Enter Presidents, they give you your little guidebook that's got like its super secret cipher that you got to put blood on in order to read the letters. You remember that one?
No, don't think I got that one. Yeah, right. Like never made it behind the closed locked doors. So, it's made it into the building, but never got shown the true secrets. So,
So wait, did you never get into a lodge meeting at all? Did you ever get past the Tyler?
the first half, right? Then I had to leave for the second half after they locked.
Well, I mean, you're not in, right? So can you tell us
No.
exactly what happened and where you got, like, what your
Well,
last
like-
interaction was?
Like I'm saying, like so. Yeah, never made it in past the locked doors, but I did see through
What does that mean,
into
though?
the
Like-
room one time, and I saw giant briefcases with like these giant freaking like sparkly gemstone rubies and like different like massive carved gemstones that they do something with, not right, but not sure what actually gets done with them.
The crown of stones with the chest plate. Yeah, something along these lines. Yeah.
Was it the Thurman and Uman, or I don't know all the stuff by heart anymore. It's been a while. I don't have a trestle board here.
I'm the worst. I'm so sorry. I got lumped into watching Brigsby Bear with my mom.
You're fired. You're
I'm the
fired.
worst. Good to see you guys. How's it going? Oh my
No, we're
god.
just talking about sacred topics of the Masonic rites, the Rosicrucian.
Well, we were hearing exactly how far Bernie got into the Masons before he got kicked out. I want to hear what was the whole process here?
Right, so there's some juicy details I'm about to share here.
Let's
'cause
freaking get into it, man.
I never got into the actual meetings or into that locked room door because I never made it in past that third degree. But I was.
Well, hold on. When you say you never made it past the locked door, I don't remember a special door that I couldn't enter until third degree. I mean, there's the lodge room door.
That's what he's talking about.
That's what I'm
It's
But the
talking
lodge
about.
room door is only
It's more of a
locked?
mental door than a physical door,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
Well, there's
Like, are you being metaphorical here, or are you being
No,
literal?
no,
That there was
so I guess there's some differences between Canada and the US because in Canada there's definitely a physical door that they lock that like
But is it
seals that
different than the
black and
one-
white tiled room.
But as a first degree entered apprentice, it's the same door that you would enter and exit the lodge as you would in the second degree or
Yeah,
third
so
degree or
I'd
anything
go
else,
in
right?
for like the first half, but then when it turns to the closed door meeting time, then I would have to have
Okay, so you were almost like a provisional initiate where you were allowed to attend the beginning openings of a lodge meeting, but then once they actually started proper lodge, you were asked to leave because you
got it.
weren't fully okay.
Yeah,
So okay,
exactly.
so you were in the locked door, but once they started the lodge meeting, then the Tyler was like, "I'm gonna chop your head off if you don't get the F out of here," and you were like, "Oh my god, okay."
Well, I didn't really resist to that point where I was threatened with violence, but
guillotine
yeah,
at
yeah.
the door.
But it sounds like it's not like someone was like, "You leave now." It was just that you got to go to that first part that was kind of for visitors. You
Yeah,
got
like
the day pass,
all of
and then that was
the
it.
new initiates, like anyone below the third degree had to leave, sort of thing. So like there's
That's right. I actually forgot. I forgot that like until you get to third that you kind of it's like bring your kid to work day. Like you get to bring them in for the first like half of the work day, but then when you actually have to do work, it's like get these kids the F out of here.
yeah, exactly. But I did make decent friendship acquaintance with the worshipful master at that time. He was also one of the, I guess you'd call sponsors that like signed my paper to like bring me in or whatever. And
It's usually a good sign if you can get the worshipful master
Yeah.
to be your sponsor. Usually mean it's a easy in.
exactly. So kind of effed it up. Anywho, we'll get to the rest of the story and what kind of deterred me. And he was 32nd degree, but in that year that of him being worshipful master and of me being there, he got his honorary 33rd degree, went over to Europe to get initiated in. And it's like we talked a lot of different, like I brought up lots of different conspiracy stuff because I've always been into the fringe and conspiracy and everything. And one thing I brought up and mentioned was that there's the P2 lodges out of Europe that secretly run everything, and that
well, it's
before
one
his
P.
trip,
That was one P2 lodge, not lodges.
or yes, one P2, yes,
Yeah.
sorry, the P2 lodge, and that before he had gone and got initiated to 33, he like just like laughed that off and was like, literally everybody would laugh, he would laugh and was like, that's a joke and like just random conspiracy, like you're crazy. And then after he got back, he came up to me and like he was visibly like shaken to his like core and like privately was like, Bernie, like I was there, like you're right, like I asked, like it does exist, and like that's all he said of it, like just
What, that
seemed
the
like
P2
James
lodge
Man.
exists?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but still, like
Still,
beyond
to
it
this
getting
day.
taken down.
Well, like it still exists and controls things to this day, sort of thing.
Well, it's
Apparently,
like Saturnian lodges, and shameless plug in my book.
Hell yeah, I love it. Dude.
oh, hold on. Okay, gotta hold that back up, and there we go. Shameless plug.
It's the
number
fight of
one.
the plugs.
Yeah. So anyway, you're plugging the comic, but I have like short chapters. It's an introductory basically, and so I have short chapters on Masonic, Rosicrucian, and Templar symbology. But everything that leads up to that and everything beyond it, and so we're talking. Oh, is the P2 still around? For sure, it's as around as Saturnian lodges are as well. And so yeah, the old world still exists today. We don't see it in the ways that we think that we would, but it's being displayed to us through symbology, and that's huge.
And that essentially, I guess, the motto of that, or moral of the story is that there seems to actually still be a higher up secret levels that really do control things behind the scenes, and to the point that they have everyone lower in the lodges completely fooled and convinced that architecture and control doesn't exist, even though it actually still does.
It's beer, pool, and darts, man. Beer, pool, and darts.
And so the second thing that really why I was like, I was promised if I went through the 3rd degree and like I remember, right, because it was fuzzy. I was on the opiates at that time, so I don't fully remember word for word, but to my core, I remember that I essentially had to swear my soul to the secrecy and to the knowledge and silence of it, but that I would was told to be able to meet and talk with another dimensional entity of some sort.
I don't remember that part, but you also wouldn't be able to trust me because I wouldn't tell you what I did remember. But I don't remember
Is
that
this
part.
the death and resurrection of Hiram Abiff by the 3 brothers? You know, I guess you would be talking to another entity while you're going through that.
But is there any point when you swear your soul away to something? Like, from my understanding, it's more of like, you know, cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye. It's a very, very elaborate version of that. But even in that, you know, cross my heart, hope to die, at no point are you like, and I swear my soul and allegiance to the Dark Lord Satan, and if I ever violate anything, you can take my soul and consume it. And like,
unless you're in the music industry and you want album,
well, it's like, yeah, if we're talking the music
sales.
industry,
Soul is essentially eternal, so that's definitely also including your physical body and life. That it's that like if you're going to like meet with something either like other entity of something, whatever the heck it is, but the fact that you can never ever talk about it, that just also
I
seems
mean,
like it
so
could be
I mean,
abused.
one last strained analogy, but it's I would almost be like if you're with the bros and you're not sophisticated enough that you've developed like a specific code of conduct and ritual over the course of hundreds of years, right? Centuries. It's like you and the bros, and if someone was just like, bro, if I ever violate guy code, just punch me in the face. It's like
Bingo. Yeah.
it's kind of that, although it gets more violent in its rhetoric, but it's sort of that exactly. You know what I mean? It's like, hey man, if you ever catch me slipping, if you ever catch me like talking out of turn and maybe, you know, like saying things in public that I agreed to not say in public, just slap me. But their version of slap was like stab me until I'm dead and like dump my body out in the ocean so no one finds out and get away with it.
Yeah.
All right.
So no difference between that and I guess Boeing these days.
Right, dude. Being in Boeing and being in Masons, I would almost say that Boeing has the more like they'll follow up on their death threats way more than the Masons will.
What is the Boeing logo?
So the moral of the story, according to Thomas, if I get this correct, is you should be a lot more afraid of Boeing than you should of your local Freemason.
Especially an employee of Boeing. Holy hell, man. That would be like being on like a Clinton campaign and walking in to a door at the wrong time and you're just like, oh my god, I'm gonna die for this, aren't I?
Jumping into symbology here, the Boeing logo is a Saturnian symbol. So one of the oldest of all. Oh yeah, look at it.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah. So what is Boeing? What is the bow? The archer, right? So you're archering, and the archer is what? Sagittarius. Sagittarius is when Saturn is at its highest in the sky during the winter months.
You can throw Nimrod in there too.
After the harvest, yeah, exactly. You know, so there's some interesting aspects with that. And so here we were just talking about that. We're looking at this symbology even today, right there in plain sight that nobody sees because they're not taught to see it. So yeah,
hidden in plain sight always.
I need to send you my book, man. It'll blow your mind anyway. So yeah.
And well, Hans, you also mentioned before stream that you've also now been initiated.
Yeah, I was initiated. I've done Rosicrucian stuff before when I was in Egypt in 2016 with Stephen Mailer. We did an initiation in the King's Chamber, which is why I brought that up, because when you're in the box and you're going through, you know, your physical death and your rebirth for your initiation, it's powerful. And I had to go down to the subterranean shaft. I always talk about this. I go down to the subterranean area of the Great Pyramid Complex, and I try and get down there before anybody else so that I have the dead-end shaft myself for at least 10 minutes. And you have an outer body experience in the box, in the King's Chamber, and then Queen's Chamber is boring to me. To other people, it's amazing, but to me, it's boring. And so the second they open up the subterranean, I'm down there. And it takes people a long time to get down there because the descending passageway it's like 500 feet down and diagonal as well. So you're going down into it, and man, if you have vertigo like I do and claustrophobia as well, it's an interesting trip down there because you're like, you just want to get to the bottom and everything's like super compact and compressed. But then when you leave, you're just like, oh, that pinpoint of light is where I'm going. Oh, geez. So, yeah.
Why don't they just add an escalator?
They might. You never know. But they're going to try and do all virtual these days, which is really sad that they don't want to let people in there, even though that's their massive money.
You fly all the way to Egypt, and they like sit you down, and they give you a little VR headset and a little.
Yeah, no. Here's a gondola ride around the pyramids, and here's your VR. And they're trying to do this. We were talking about Peru earlier. They're trying to do this at Machu Picchu because they figure the amount of tourism there is destroying the sediment in the land because it rains so much, as I was saying when we were talking earlier, that it's starting to disrupt how all those stones that are megalithic that have been there for thousands of years are starting to move and displace.
This is a rough one though, because without tourism, and like dirty expansionists, colonizers, like there would be no Machu Picchu. Like it was some white dude that had a bunch of money
and lost.
that found it. It was I can't remember his
Thor Heyerdahl.
And the guy that built the railroad that brings you from
Ollantaytambo to there.
So if it weren't for these like rich white explorer dudes, like the people that have Machu Picchu,
I've never thought of it like that, but ouch. Yeah, no. And it's a 2.5 hour train ride to the city below Machu Picchu, where you either take the trail and you walk up it, or you take the trail.
We're talking about this is Aguas Calientes, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. You take the trail from Ollantaytambo, which is like 7-8 days in the jungle. It's kind of crazy. But the train is interesting because you can only do it by road because the train won't stop. But about an hour outside of Ollantaytambo is this place called Napa Iglesia or Napa Wapa. There's two names to it. And it's this cave, it's 1,000 feet up this ravine.
Wow. And
you're walking through shale the whole way up. So there's no real footing or pathway. And the trucks are, like shale, like loose rock, basically.
That's sketchy.
Yeah, super sketchy. When you get up there, and there's there's 3 different histories there. So in Peru, you see these 3 different histories, especially when you're in like Cusco. You'll see the buildings that have the super megaliths on the bottom, the medium megaliths in the middle, and the small shale, not shale, but like glyphic rock above that's even smaller. And so these are 3 different historical periods. And so the middle period came across the old stuff and rebuilt it and refurbished it. And then the newer cultures came across both of them and rebuilt and refurbished them. And so you get to this Napa Iglesia, Napa Huaca spot. And part of it is like more modern Inca, what you would see during the Spanish conquistador era. There's this rock that somebody dynamited the top off of, thinking that it was hollow inside and there would be gold in it, but it's super old. And then you have something that could be younger or even older, and it's this wall. My office is 15 foot here, so it's about 15, 16 feet, that or 3 meters, 4 meters, something like this. And more than 3 meters. Anyway, sorry, 5 meters. There we go. And in the middle, it's like flat surface cut into the bedrock of the cave. And you're like, how are they cutting in and then removing the back wall and cutting back out 90-degree angles on the side? And in the middle of it is a sunken doorway or a sunken alcove that has 3 or 4 situations going on there that sink back about half meter, basically. And so this is mysterious because the tolerance of the surface of this is like 1/100th or more of an inch, which is, that's hard to do with a human hand without machinery. And it's in the middle of nowhere. There's nowhere that you would drag a generator up there and cut this out of the stuff. And you see this all over Peru, especially at Ollantaytambo, where I jumped the rope and I climbed up to one section and it had all these cross hatchings. This is actually on my website. I wish I could bring it up at the moment, but I can't. Anyway, the picture gallery on my website isn't working so great, so don't try and bring it up right now.
So this is if you don't take the train from Aguas Calientes to
yeah, exactly, correct. Yeah. So it's a third of the way to Machu Picchu, but then you get up to Machu Picchu, and my God, that site is amazing. And then you have Huayna Picchu across from it, which is.
Did you do it?
Oh God, no way, man.
Okay.
The
person I was with was like pushing me to do it, and
we didn't have time. We would have had to have gotten there early in the morning to do it.
Well, if you had all the time in the world, would you have done it?
Well, that's the thing. As I was saying in the green room, it was like, oh my God, we paid $200 a piece to be here, and it started pissing rain. And Brian Forrester's like, it always pisses rain here during this time of year. It was September, and so it's like after monsoon, this kind of monsoon rain. I'm like, man, I paid good money to be here, and they're all going back to the cantina to have cigarettes, Cusqueños, and Pisco Sours or Coca-Cola's waiting for the bus.
Freaking Coca tea? Yeah, let's do it.
I'm like, I've got this whole site to myself. I was the only person there, and so I wandered the entire site, and then I got brave, and I'm like, I'm going to go up to the Inca Bridge. And so I wandered up the trail, man. It was living in Nepal, I've been on slippery trails. I mean, there's a saying in Nepal, now I can't remember it. Anyway, pardon my French. Rato mato chiplo bato, which means red mud, slippery earth. So when it rains, like everything washes out under your feet. But here you are on these, diorite slabs that are just covered with moss, super slippery.
Yeah.
Pouring rain. And there's no guide rail, and you're looking down.
Yeah, dude, that's the most surreal feeling is being like, up there.
That's
and there's literally
1,000 feet.
Yeah, dude, there's nothing at all to prevent you from just walking backwards with your phone and just falling off a mountain. Like literally, there's nothing at all.
And I'm holding my GoPro, trying to take photos. I'm getting a little concerned because I'm the only person on the trail. Finally, 3 tourists, these French couple and their friend walked by me, and I'm like, oh, okay, there's somebody else at least out here. But when I passed the guard post, one of the guards decided he's going to follow me out because they've had too many people to get down to the Inca Bridge, and they want to jump over the bamboo rail. And the bridge is interesting. It's like a meter wide or less. It's old, and it crosses, a 15-foot gap. But then you look up the rest of the Inca Trail that people would run on, and it's these half-tree beams hammered into holes in the wall all the way up the cliff. And you're like, that's a 2,000-foot drop-off. And you've got some guy with Kipu running up this to go to the next village. Unbelievable. Seriously unbelievable. But this is what they did. And so, mind blown with that. But going back to Ollantaytambo and weird cutouts, so I climbed all the way up to the top of this ridge, and there's a section of the wall that's cut out. It's about the size of a queen bed. We talked about this in the last show, actually. And sitting in front of it is the piece that was cut out of it. And if you measure that, which I did, and then you measure the interior wall and the back cutout and the back dive of it, there's only like a centimeter at most of material missing. And so the queen size bed is just sitting there in front of it. And you stop and you go, I understand them cutting back on top, bottom, and sides. How did they cut out the back wall? And so that has always been the mystery of that. Anyway, that was my long story short, long short again.
most of these places. I want to go, but like you personally, it's like the legs get a little shaky when you're on those cliff edges. Like you almost want to have
no
a
lie, man.
parachute on your backpack or on your back or something, like just in case.
That's why I was asking about what is it called? Ayana Pichu, which is like
Iwana Picchu. It's across from Machu Picchu.
right. And you see it when you're there, and there's like it's an extra ticket, whatever, to go on there. But I'm just like looked at that thing, and it was just like there's no way in my entire life would I ever try and climb that thing. And they have a death count, they have an annual death count. And when I was there, the death count for that year, and I think it was in March or April that I was there, it had already been 3. And you got to sign a waiver that's like, if I die, I die. And
the angle and the moisture, this is the problem with the moisture. The angle of that is more dramatic than Chichen Itza, which if you've ever seen anybody climbing Chichen Itza, I mean, you're holding on for dear life as you go up it because
and I've got a size 14.
That's right.
So it's hard enough to just go upstairs in people's normal houses with a size 14 shoe. So I was just looking at that thing like my feet won't fit on those steps like at all. I'd have to be barefoot and like cut my toe off.
You've seen the videos online of it, man. People are flying up and down it like it's nobody's business.
Me, dude. Not me.
Like I'm sorry. I have, I've been living in Nepal. I've been to really high places, but man, I get vertigo. Even then I did. Because you get to a point, you're just like, wow, this is such a commanding view, and then you do the inevitable and you go, oh.
Right, don't look down. Don't look down.
Really high up.
Gotcha.
Ooh, and then everything stops, and you get that weird cold rush, and you're just like, okay, adrenaline's pumping, fight or flight. Okay, I'm just gonna sit here and take in the view. I'm just gonna sit here and take in the view. So
one thing I have learned in those situations, like where you need to just like sit and take a moment to like grab your bearings and when you're really high up sort of thing, is don't smoke a joint and actually get high because oh god, not a fun time. Not a fun time.
Unless you're in the pyramids. I'll just leave it at that.
Right? On top of
I want to ask Hans if they're like, what are other experiences that match Machu Picchu? Like if you had like if you didn't get to do that one again, but you could only do 2 other ones.
If you get on a bigger tour in Egypt and you actually do the between the Sphinx pause, they don't let you down into the Sphinx corridor at all. That's super amazing. On these bigger tours, they'll let you into the Osiris Shaft, which was recently opened in 2017. So when I was there in 2016, it wasn't open. And then in 2017, it was. And we went down it in 2018. That was super amazing. But again, not for the faint of heart because you're descending 100 feet on a rickety ladder a couple times.
What kind of group gives you the most advantage in getting between the? Is it like the Rosicrucians, the Templars?
No, so I work with the Kemet School of Ancient Mysticism.
It's the Kemets.
So Patricia Lehman,
Masonry,
her husband, and Stephen Mailer, who was Rosicrucian, kind of conformed this sect of ancient Egyptology in a sense. Around Hakim Iwan, Abdel Hakim Iwan, who was a indigenous wisdom keeper, and his stuff is super fascinating. Stephen kind of went in a little different direction. Patricia's going in even more of a different direction. But if you watch any of like Uncharted X, Ben stuff, he's doing a lot of stuff with Yusuf. Yusuf is a stonemason. He's I want to say Hakim's middle son. And his knowledge of stonework and a lot of his father's stuff is unbelievable, unsurpassed for sure. And so going through them, it's also through the Kemet School. You can do stuff through Brian Forrester, through his Hidden Inca tours. He does tours in Egypt as well. But we all kind of use the same, groups when we go there. And so even Grandmaster Timothy Hogan will be doing this in February. So I guess shout out to a plug for them going there in February. I'm hoping to be on that tour as well because I would love to hear his knowledge of ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, and be able to couple that with my own based on what I've learned.
Grandmaster Timothy Hogan, he was the one that invented turntablism in the 80s, wasn't he?
Not sure I get the reference, but
Grandmaster Timothy Hogan?
yeah. Yeah, no, I get that reference, but
Yeah.
no, he's a Templar Grandmaster, not a DJ Grandmaster.
I get it confused.
Yeah, different story. That's why I'm rubbing the rhubarb. Anyway, so but yeah, no, we usually generally go through these tour groups and go there and do that. And at the end of the tour, we do the Osiris Shaft, the Sphinx complex, and then we get 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours inside of the Great Pyramid. So if you go there as a general tourist, you'll pay $200-300. It's probably a little bit more now. And they give you 15 minutes and they take you up into the King's Chamber, and that's all you ever see of the Great Pyramid. But if you're on more of a private tour, because you have more than 15, 20 people. The last one I was there in 2018, we had 80 people on our tour. But we had Brian Forrester, Hugh Newman, Andrew Collins, JJ Ainsworth, Patricia Yusuf, all as speakers. And so, I mean, it was a huge draw. And so I went as a manager and helped the tour group out because they needed, we had more than 2 buses. And so I had to manage one of the buses and make sure everybody made it back to the buses at some of these sites, because you go to a site like Karnak, and man, you could spend 5 days there and see a fifth of it. So yeah.
Pass out the trail mix, make sure everyone's like, yeah.
Here's your water, and I swear it didn't come from the Nile. I swear. But yeah, when you go up into the Great Pyramid, I mean, having 3 hours, so you originally go up into the Grand Gallery and then King's Chamber. They tell you can't tone, you can't do religious practice, you can't do this, you can't do that. Everybody breaks that because
you can't tone and you can't meditate. They said, or
no, you can't even do religious practice. And so when we were there in 2016, we had this guy that was like 6'4", British dude, and you're going down the tunnel going into the King's Chamber, and in the middle of it, there's an alcove that juts up, and that's where they got into the relieving chambers. Not to be confused with the bathroom, but anyway. And so he's scraping his head along the top of this, and he bumped up the second it opened up into the free space, and it's only a little over 1 meter wide. And so he immediately smashed his forehead into the other side and cut it open. And so we had a blood sacrifice. We were all toning. We had a wedding. It was just like we broke all the rules.
Do you go and buy like some scratch off tickets if that happens? Like you're with someone that starts bleeding in the temple? Like what why would you just leave money on the table?
I'll bring up some of the photos that I did in the last show.
Yeah, please do. And Thomas, do you have any photos of your trip to Peru?
Peru, yeah, I'd love to see that, because you do
I'm sure I do.
You do a little different story than I did on that. So
I mean, I wasn't there for
projects.
I was there for just like I got a $60 round trip ticket, and I was like, let's do this. And that was my whole motivation for going. I was like, probably didn't appreciate it as much as I should have, but it was also completely awe-inspiring. Like it changed my outlook entirely just from going there.
I could imagine, and I hope to have that same experience one day. And how the heck do you find a $60, did you say round trip ticket?
It was
it was when this airlines first started. Yeah, no,
right. It was Spirit Air, and it was the first 10 people that bought a round trip ticket to Peru got it for $6. And I was at Disney, and like the animator that I'm working in the office with, he buys it for $6, and he's convincing me like, bro, even if you buy it and you don't go, like you're out $6 and you got a story and whatever, like just the opportunity. I was like, all right. And when I went to go and buy mine, I guess I was like number 11. So the price had gone up to 60, and the next step was going to be 600. And I was like, for 60, all right, fine, whatever. We've got a year to figure it out. So we both had these round trip tickets for over a year.
Wow.
We're just sitting on it. And eventually we were like, all right, let's do it. And the entire trip, bro, with that $60 overhead was $300. And I wasn't like trying to be frugal. I was ready to spend like $1,500 or so at the time. $300 was for every single taxi and like train ride and airplane ride. Like the whole entire trip was $300. It was nuts.
So we were talking earlier about
Wow.
the Egyptian influence in Peru. So this is called I thought it was an Inca burial, but I had to research it again because I'm doing more lectures on this. It's actually a Chimu burial, and it roughly dates to 1400 AD. But this is the headdress of Amun. Actually, all three of these are. And so this comes out of ancient Chem or Egypt before the Greeks were there, because Egypt comes from the Greeks. So it predates 1600 BC in a sense, and it shows duality. And yeah, I was blown away seeing this in the museum, Larco Lima Museum of Gold. But
Right?
yeah,
And that crown with the two, like
all three of them have two. They're just broken.
Yeah. And it's made of gold. Hey, that
Yeah, it's all gold. All this is gold.
An array,
Solid
say.
gold.
Like, what are you receiving and sending wearing that on your crown chakra? Right? Maybe.
Well, then on the right you have Amun. Well, Amun was known as the veil of darkness. So this is the fifth phase of the sun. And so the veil of darkness, or the hidden, this is where we get the word Amen from. So it's interesting that when you pray to the Almighty, please hear my prayer, Amen, you're actually saying, God, bury my prayer in darkness so you'll never hear it. Because of where it came from in ancient Chem, and the Hanuti priest caste obviously changed that. But we were going to talk about the Great Pyramid. So let me find.
Oh, the more the merrier. This is awesome stuff, Hans.
So this is the Osiris shaft. You're going down, wow, hundreds of feet into the earth, as you see here in the lower left. Grotte Grotte. This is from a German gentleman that put together this 3D capture of this, but you're 10 to 15 stories down under the ground, based on what we consider stories. This shaft here is what you see in this photo here. They've actually removed the rickety ass staircase from the right. I was the first person down outside of the guy that went down, and going down into darkness on a staircase when you have vertigo is an interesting thing to deal with. And then he turns the light on, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. But then you go down the second shaft here, which takes you down into the subterranean sarcophagus, which is this platform here with a green quartzite granite that's from Lebanon that was submerged beneath it. And this photo here was in the 1990s when Zahi Hawass and his crew were dredging this, because the water table underneath the Giza Plateau is at this level now. It didn't used to be. It was a lot lower. And sometimes it was a lot higher. And so it's interesting that they lifted the lid off of this granite quartzite, sarcophagus, and nothing was in it. And, this is, an 80-ton lid. So it's not going to take, a lot of people to lift this for sure. And it's interesting because
how many to lift 80 tons?
So 100 tons is 200,000 pounds. So if the average person can move 100 pounds at a time, you're looking at anywhere from 1,000 people to 2,000 people to move something of this nature.
Or 3 Thomases at 32,000.
Or if they have pulleys, weights, and levers, that's a whole different story, but we're told that they didn't. So based on what we're being told, we have to take that into consideration and go, okay, where are 2,000 people fitting in this area? They can't. There's no way. Also interesting is that this box and its lid, they were all originally one piece. The lid is usually taken off the bottom, so that they can keep the same harmonics within the granite of the box. And so the bottom of the box becomes the lid of the box. This doesn't fit down the main shaft going down into this area. There's no way to get it down and to turn the corners based on how much space there is. It doesn't fit down this shaft either in the upper left. And there are, you can't really see it in this photo that I took here. This is before Yusuf went into the water and tasted the water, which was interesting. He's like, oh, that's very sweet.
Really?
Because it's being filtered through all the granite and all the salt and the limestone rock. That's the bedrock. But there's a tunnel that goes off to the left and the tunnel that goes off to the right. And the tunnel that goes off to the right, I believe, based on where it's located, ends up underneath the Great Pyramid in the well shaft in the subterranean area. And so we're always told the Great Pyramid, 8 sides of Great Pyramid, even though we've been told it's only 4 sides with the bottom, right? But if you look at it from the solstice, from an aerial point of view, from the Egyptian military, Air Force, you can see that there are 8 sides on it. And it's interesting that on the smallest of the 3 pyramids, well, there's actually 9, but of the 3 pyramids, it's also 8-sided. And so they're all 8-sided. And the question is why? Well, we don't really know, but we use radio telemetry today, over the horizon radio telemetry, using a 4 to 8-sided pyramid. So, machine, perhaps. So you go up the Grand Gallery. The tunnel to the Queen's Chamber is very similar to the tunnel to the King's Chamber, except it's shorter. I'm not a super fan of the Queen's Chamber. So you go into the King's Chamber. I was discussing the gentleman that split his head. This is him on the left. This is all of his blood on the floor.
There's your blood sacrifice, yeah.
We're all chanting, at least I am in this picture. And people are meditating on the floor. We were about to do a wedding for a friend of mine from New Zealand and his wife. And then you get in the box and you go through the ritual. And it's interesting that the main room resonates at like E or E flat, and the box resonates at F. And so when you're toning in the box and everybody else is toning in the room, you're enveloped in this alchemical swirl of sound frequency, and you feel like you're having an outer body experience. And so that's
And is this the thing you're not supposed to do? They're like, don't tone in the
no,
box.
don't tone. They don't want, well, because you're in a Muslim country, and this goes against Allah. This is huge.
Oh, it's a religious thing?
Oh, it's big time. Oh, they don't want you to do it
I
because
thought it was like,
no.
don't tap on the glass kind of thing.
No. This is all based on religion. And so it's sad because, this is
like, don't do what this was designed to do.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's funny because you're in the room and there's always a guard in the room with you. And it's weird because they'll start putting their hand in the box and start toning themselves because they feel the vibration of everybody else doing it. And so to me, that's always been like one of the most super fascinating elements of it. But when you go down the descending passageway, like I said, it just keeps going and going and going and going. And if you're claustrophobic, it's not a good idea. But you get over it real quick. And then you get down into the subterranean area, and there's the well shaft, and it goes down. This is like 40 feet down, and it's cemented off at the bottom. There's 2 cement blocks. You can see them. I guess if I zoom in, you can see them. You can see them here, right? There's 2 cement blocks. But there's a tunnel system that goes here, and there's another tunnel system that goes under here. So there's 2 layers of tunnels here, if not more. And they all head toward the Osirian shaft. But I like to go down the dead end shaft, which is literally 1 meter by 1 meter. It's very small. It's very tight. If you're claustrophobic, maybe not a good thing, but I'm claustrophobic, so I did it. I made it through it. But you're scraping your knees, as you can see on like this moon rock. It's the bedrock that this thing was chiseled out of. And as you can see in the back here, there's a cement plug with a drill hole through it. But this is like 30 meters back, and I will sit here. Nobody's coming down any of the shafts, so I can't hear anybody else. I'll tone, I'll shut off my torch, and I'll start to meditate. And man, the noise is unbearable, but it's nothing that you're hearing. It's what you're feeling. It's your own inner energy, your own inner noise. And to me, that's always been the most amazing experience of that. So
that's epic. I hope to experience that myself one day. And right there. 2 pictures showing evidence of concreted off access to tunnels, correct?
There's a few more of those. I'll show them real quick. But when you go to the red pyramid, you have this corbelled system. And so if you see this from the descending passageway, it cuts in, it adjacents, and then you have to climb. And then there's one that flips the other direction. And so the thought is that this mirrors itself on the other side. Sneferu was not a title of a king or a pharaoh. We can get into that. It was actually a title of nature. And so Neferu means the dual harmony. And so when you go to the bent pyramid, you see that it has 2 angles, and we're told in history, oh, they messed up, and so they had to change the angle. And that's not the case, because now that they finally let people inside of it, there are actually 2 different resonating chambers, and they both resonate at different levels or different frequencies, and they're both elevated in different spots of the pyramid. And so this is interesting because you have chamber 1 with this corbelled ceiling, chamber 2 with a corbelled ceiling, very similar to the Great Pyramid. But then you go into chamber 3 down this, you have to climb all the way up. You now have a rickety staircase that goes up there, but you climb all the way up and you go down this tunnelway, which is what's on the left. And when you look right, you see chamber 3. Well, there's a cement plug in chamber 3, as if they were looking to see if there was another chamber system that vented off of this. And they even dynamited the floor, which you can see here in the lower right. And so it's a crime against humanity, damn it, quite honestly, that they would go to these levels to discover other elements of the chamber. But that is not part of the natural rock that's there. This is a cement plug. So anyway, as you were saying, yeah, it's interesting that they would do this, but they do this all over, especially in Egypt, all over different sites. They just don't want to tell us what's going on. And yeah, they were a bunch of slaves that drank beer. That's a great excuse. I think there's a lot more going on than that. So anyway, that's
dynamiting it to find treasure, right?
It is interesting, right? Like, I hadn't thought about that too much, but when you say something is a grave, then it's like to defile a grave. People are like, why are the pyramids a grave site? Like, what's the reason that you say that? Like, well, now all of a sudden you're defiling a grave site, so you won't look into it more.
But they never were. So this is, again, where the Greeks kind of screwed things up. They didn't realize the houses, and so there's 5 houses.
Mm-hmm.
Per which is the house of the wise. This is a university. This is a school or a hospital. The Pers were always the houses. There's Per-Ka, the house of the body. So this is a tomb. Per-Ba, the house of the spirit. This is a temple. Per-Neter, the house of nature, the house of an energy of nature. This is the pyramid. The Greeks knew this. They called it pyramidos, right? The fire in the middle. It wasn't a tomb ever. The tomb is Per-Ka. And then there's Per-A, the high house of the woman, or the house of the woman. And this is where the Greeks took the name Pharaoh from. And so
right.
There's never ever been a male pharaoh in ancient Chem or Egypt, period, ever.
I'll do a Longonian real quick and say Norse
the woman.
Friday, Freya, and
Freya, yeah, same.
Exactly. Go ahead and make that connection. I don't know if
Wow.
that's fair. Some people might disagree, but I think it's
so Scottish, Irish, where does this come from? So Scotia was Meritaten. This was Akhenaten's oldest daughter. And so when the Hanuti priests came in and persecuted his family for changing the Neters, or their gods, the natures, into Ra, the sun, or Aten, the sun, because there's 5 phases of the sun, they persecuted them, and he fled one direction, and she took all the druids north. And this is where Scotia comes from. So Freya, that makes a lot of sense. I've actually never thought of that before.
Yeah, I
Wow.
also wonder about, so how do you feel about like alternate direction? Like, so we've been recently dealing with this the inversion theory that like things are into Africa, into the lower hemispheres from the North Pole, right? Do you have any thoughts on that theory, like that it's from
So the only example I have of that is the Rama invasion into ancient Egypt or ancient
Mhm.
India. So the Rama came from the north, and they
Yeah.
invaded ancient India, and they were all this Dravidian class of people. This could have been the Denisovians. I mean, there's a lot of, but where did they come from?
Also the fact
So
that Egypt is in the north as opposed to in the south of Africa or something like that. It's not necessarily the case, but it kind of shows the idea of where
I
they come from.
I'm like Robert Seffer. I have some horrible aspects with the out of Africa, context that we all came from mitochondrial Eve or Lucy or whatever.
Mhm.
If you look at the different, well, we're all supposedly one race of humans, but if you look at the different races or tribes of humans, we can all intermix, we can all interbreed, and we
Right.
can all create a hybridization of our intermixing and our interbreeding. But two people from a specific tribe cannot create somebody that's from a different tribe.
So that's an interesting thing because we have talked about that recently, this idea of gene flow and how, if you take like a horse and a donkey, they make a mule, which is not having the same promoter sequence.
But the mule can't reproduce, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas so humans are really interesting, kind of does tie us together with nuance, but it ties us together
Sure.
that we're able to have, we are essentially some sort of a species or superorganism with something that is highly uniting. But there's definitely differences between Floriensis, Denisovan, Neanderthal. I mean, those are things we have to acknowledge, right?
Cro-Magnon, ourselves,
Right.
we all existed at the same time.
So yeah. So does that to you suggest? I mean, what do you think that
makes
that
me
means?
wonder? Are we still existing at the same time? So yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting thought. Like, do we start out as, is this a singular telescopic seed that became a gene flowing series, or did they, right? Exactly.
This is the phantom DNA experiments that I've talked about before, where they've taken a plasma green laser in a black, isolation chamber, basically, and they have two test tubes. One has seawater, the other one it's autoclaved, so there's nothing living in it, period, done deal. And they will shine the green plasma laser for 18 or more hours through the seawater into the other test tube. And when they come back to the experiment, both test tubes have the same amount of life in them. And so if we're drifting through different elements of the cosmos as we go around our galactic center, we come into different densities of bacteria and DNA. Our sun is a plasma laser generator, in a sense. It's not nuclear, it's plasma. It's an electromagnetic field, and we are the seawater, or the water-bearing planet. And so if we're drifting through different densities of DNA, we're going to pick those up. And so we have the Cambrian outbreak or the Pleistocene outbreak, and nobody knows where these things came from because they instantaneously, showed up in our history from what we're looking at. Even the human race, same thing. And so
kind of a 100th monkey, of
sure, very much so.
assembly. Yeah.
So as we keep
That's
going through these densities of cosmos, are we upgrading our DNA? Are we adding new DNA to the planet? Are new species arriving? I've been stung by a Portuguese man of war. If you look up a Portuguese man of war, where do they come from? Nobody knows. How do they breed? Nobody knows. They show up, full moon on the leeward side of islands, and they're a colonial organism. And so it's like, what is this? We don't share DNA with octopus. So again,
this is the very dangerous jellyfish, right? The man of war you're talking about.
Yeah, box jellies are more dangerous. But yeah, the man of war can be super dangerous. Yeah. I don't swim with some.
They're the ones that like fill up with air and float on the surface.
That's part of the colonial organism, but it's mostly the tentacles. And so what happened here?
I wasn't ready to take over.
The man of war, their tentacles. The turtles will eat these in Hawaii, and so the turtles will follow them and eat them, and they have no problem with them. It's like spaghetti to them. But then the tentacles are floating in the water, and you're swimming by them, and it like wraps around your ear or under your arm.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like the idea of the laser producing life, like the idea of saline crystal that's affected by waves. And so you're using stars like Dyson spheres to populate the Earth with.
I never thought of using a Dyson sphere like that. That's interesting because you
Yeah, I
are
feel like Li-Fi is the way to go, like directional, like unidirectional light wave to
Wow,
saline crystal.
and then you could let in whatever DNA or bacteria you need during the
And now I'm
density.
thinking though, I thought that, but like now I'm thinking like, what if there were a dozen at the same time? Because then they were all competing at the speed of light to get to the Earth to like start off the process of life, which is relatively similar.
Projected panspermia in a sense, yeah, of sorts.
So
No,
like, we
this
have
is-
like
this is interesting.
relatively similar DNA to like each kind, but each one might have been started from separate,
That's more
Bingo.
just like,
Well,
like a life creating laser. Like whatever you blast it at starts generating life.
Yeah, I tend to think that that's how you evolve, like as a
that's
civilization.
what our suns are. I mean, our
Yeah.
sun is a big laser.
And that's also what
look at it like that.
mythologically people think of as suns. So like a sun is this god-like singularity that knows all things and controls our
And
world.
creates life.
Yeah. So if it is, if it's able to do that, and we're using it for even time, because time is the metric of change in radiation of symmetry of our, orbitals based on light. If it was completely solid, cold fusion, we wouldn't be moving at all. We'd be essentially outside of time. So these are we're depending. Space time is completely dependent on these stars that we're using as well. So if a civilization is evolving, and then there's the next thing you want to do is like colonize or do something. If there's like this is the Battlestar Galactica thing, right? There's like a dozen different highly civilized civilizations that have their own Dyson stars, and the Earth is at the center of that. And so if you can, whichever they want to use it, but there's like treaties between them, they can't really destroy each other, but they can all, whoever gets there first, like they can also like exist simultaneously. That seems to be the
Wow, this is wow.
that seems to be like what these alien shows.
They all kind of go down this trajectory. Yeah, you're right. No, that's an interesting step away to look back at it. Wow. Okay. All right.
I mean, like, because even like the Egyptian idea of like multiple gods, the idea that there's different maybe tribes of humans that are like Eden and Adamu, or different, projects that are simultaneous would be interesting, because then we wouldn't. The idea that we all have the same, like biology is false. The idea that we all have the same goal-oriented mind, the idea that we come from the same intellectual like education systems, like there's so many things about us that are so different that it is interesting to wonder, like, should we really have an objective singular civilization, or like are we supposed to?
So this is interesting when you look at movies like Time Machine, not the original but the more recent one with what's his name? Why can't I think of his name?
I know what you're talking about, though.
Memento, but we end up in the future where we're all an amalgamation of every race that's on the planet. And so is this
Guy Pearce?
Yeah, thank you, Guy Pearce, exactly. So is this
Orlando Jones as the AI? Sorry,
that's right, in the New York Library. But we end up in the future as this amalgamation of all races, and so is this kind of the end result of collecting all this galactic DNA and bringing it into the Earth species, which we all are a part of? I'm not suggesting.
Who knows which way is the way to go on that?
Yeah.
Like, obviously,
No, we don't really know, but I find that fascinating because, as I was saying earlier, certain tribes cannot create other tribes, but we can all blend together, and so I think that's really fascinating.
Here's the one thing that I always have to bring up is that pre-cataclysm there was megafauna, the Younger Dryas, like time frame, whenever the heck it was. In the fossil records, there was mega everything: giant beavers, giant sloths, giant armadillos, giant reptiles, giant everything. So why?
And we still have some
mammoth,
remnants, like the
mastodon?
whale. Apparently, a whale is 88 tons. A sperm whale could be 88 tons, which is a lot.
So why not giant humans? Just saying.
Well, especially considering that whales were on the land at some point, right? Like whales started as fish. They went onto the land. They were like, you know what? The water was a little bit better. They went back into the water and became whales.
Right.
God, I've got to find it on my bookshelf now. I have this book about the aquatic ape, basically which talks about us not coming from trees, but coming from the ocean, because our filament under our nose is designed to create an air bubble when we swim
That's not
underwater.
my Bible, sir.
There's a bit of both, though, right?
What's
With
that?
water age theory, it's that like we went from land back to water, back
Right,
to land.
yeah.
Which
I've just-
still would have started in water, but there's like a
Well, that's why we have long hair. You know,
it goes the other direction on the skin.
why
I
didn't the
remember that being
primates
interesting
evolve?
theory
Why did
because
we?
it seemed like all obvious, but like a woman came up with it or something. So like it wasn't like British.
Oh, they
people.
chewed her to death. It was in the
Yeah.
70s. I have it on my shelf. I'm not seeing it right now,
That was a bad time to be a woman, I guess.
but it's
That's
genius. Why do we have long hair? Well, our children can grab onto it in the water, and it's
When you
fascinating.
wiki it now, there's like a British dude from the 19th century that they found who did talk about it first, and he did have a beard. So now they can.
Oh, what's the beard for, right? I mean,
Yeah.
hanging on to the hair of the father. So it's interesting that Avatar kind of brings this up in the last movie as well. There is this huge attraction to water, and so obviously James Cameron's going through the elements with his Avatar series, but it's super fascinating that he's touching on a lot of these old tropes or old memes in a sense that have some sort of validity to them. Don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Avatar movies are pretty impressive. Like the most impressive, I guess, that anything that are coming out right now in terms of like that story, that idea of like alternate world that we're exploiting that is our own world.
It's our own world. It's Pandora. It's the conquistadors all over
But
again.
really, isn't it like probably what happened to Earth?
It's Pocahontas.
It's a cycle of abuse,
No, but exactly. And so I think we keep retelling these stories. We tell the story of Atlantis. Are we not living it today?
Yeah.
We have all this technology that could destroy us in a heartbeat.
I mean that the Atlantis, the
Avatar
tree,
we're an interconnected global culture. This was Atlantis, or
the Avatar tree could be Rupus nigra, or like the Yggdrasil tree. Essentially.
Wow. Yeah. No. Correct. The rubber tree.
You're made of water, but you're also made of dirt, which is pretty cool. It's good to be both.
Wow. This evening's gone in some interesting directions. Love it. Always.
Exactly. It's a woo and it's a wow of a woo. Now let's be wowed by Thomas.
You were asking if I had any pictures. I dug a couple up. Now I don't have a presentation. These are literally just like pictures that I had. This is one of the better ones that I got. And anyone that's been here can attest. It's not easy to get a photo with no people in it
or clouds.
There's a couple hanging out, but I was like there at the crack of freaking dawn. It was super slippery, and the light's pretty early. But this is the main part of Machu Picchu with Ayana Picchu, I believe, in the
Ayana Picchu's in the background, and to the right is Huayna Picchu, which is like across the valley. And
I got a couple better versions of
the most insane staircase you'll ever see.
So this, I believe, there's a staircase somewhere on that mountain, and it's basically like just a straight vertical shot that goes directly up.
It's not actually on this one. It's on the one across the valley.
Oh, here I got another one.
This particular, you can climb to the top of this early morning, and then there's the moon temple underneath it. But if you go across the valley from Machu Picchu, we got to make sure we pronounce it correctly, because like many languages, it has two meanings. One is old man of the mountain, and the other one is old man's junk. So but yeah, to the right of where you're standing, if you were to look across the valley, you will see the staircase going up to the top of the mountain across the valley. And that is the one that you see online, that it's like, I don't know how people would ever want to climb that. I do have proof that I was actually, there we go. And there I am standing at the freaking edge, that if you were to just take a step forward, you're literally falling down the mountain. Like there's nothing to prevent you.
I love your outfit. You look like it's very like Abercrombie.
Well, yeah. I mean, come on.
I used to dress like that. I feel like dressing like that right now. That's
talking early 2000s. So what do you?
The only reason I comment on it is because like it's so high up there. God, you're young. It's so high up there to get to Machu Picchu, and it's like it can be so like humid and everything else. Like I don't know, it's pretty impressive that you.
Here, I'll just throw a couple out here too. Look at this.
When-
This was
when-
a restaurant.
Oh, look at
that
you.
we
Oh,
went
of
to.
course. Well, where did Tupac get his name
And-
from?
It was called the Big Brother Cafe, and for some reason they had a picture of Shannon Doherty serving a pizza.
It means more than you
So-
think.
So Tupac was one of the original Inca rulers. So that's where his
Okay,
name,
so that's where they got
where
it
his
from.
name comes from.
And then there you go. There was lunch.
Ah,
that day.
Kui, my
So,
favorite dish.
Oh man,
that was
It tastes like a rabbit, but it's a guinea pig, and
there you go. That was literally lunch that day.
that's
I don't know if I
Kui.
can.
Yeah.
I don't
Did you have
any-
alpaca at all? Alpaca is like
I used to eat a lot of alpaca pizza. I love
I
that.
didn't eat
One place
alpaca.
that I
camel,
used to
man.
eat
It's a
for the guinea
camel.
pig. Yeah,
It's
I used to
so
eat alpaca
dry.
pizza at this place that played Ace of Base all the time, and it was just like I was like, I'm sure these people are on like speed and ecstasy in the middle of the salted desert.
No,
but
they're
at the
doing
same time,
ayahuasca all day.
I just wanted the pizza, but I think also salt just like is high energy. It just makes like a super high energy place. But it was just like 260 beat per minute Swedish pop music all the time and alpaca pizza, which is pretty nice. I had a picture of me at Machu Picchu. I'll pull up real quickly.
I was gonna
This
say
is
we're
a
in
good
Cusco
picture.
because there's a back alley in Cusco that's all pizzas that do alpaca pizzas. Yeah.
So I got up there and
Yeah.
I made this picture while I was up there because I took the picture of myself and then I realized like, you know what, Machu Picchu. And I realized like the picture isn't complete for
So
some
you're
reason.
at the upper gate.
I'm sitting up there like putting Pikachu in my photo on my phone while I'm at Machu Picchu wasting my time. It took about like 3 minutes, but still, I feel like that's crazy. I don't know.
God, I'm so glad we've all been there. Well, except Bernie.
I haven't.
We'll get him there. I'm taking.
Poor Bernie.
Poor Bird.
But such an amazing site. I mean, the whole site is driven by water, which is really interesting. There's fountains and waterways that's like split through the entire site. So yeah, no, very fascinating with that.
Yeah.
And near the hitching post of the sun, which is at the top, there are two rock structures that have huge like removals, as I call them, from the top of it. And I had to climb up onto another structure to take photos of it. But yeah, there's all these
That Machu Picchu was before Pokemon Go, and so I do feel like I should sue, but I never did. So
You got the metadata timestamp to prove it.
they're
I got
following
something
me,
else
they
that I can
know.
show from
Well,
that
that
trip.
guy's got ideas.
I
That
thought
we can
was
explain.
when were you both there? Sorry, out of curiosity.
Last time I was there was 2016. For first time was 2012.
Okay, you've been twice. Oh wow, all right.
Yeah,
I went once in 07, and this was something that I saw in Cusco
Yeah.
that was wild, bro. I was there. I was like, this is some Illuminati AF, kind of like
Denver Airport.
right? Dude, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, this is the
This is in
Peruvian Denver
Cusco.
Airport. Like, this is so freaking occult, man.
This is in Cusco? Are you serious?
This is in Cusco. Yeah, this is. I got
In
a few.
2007. Yeah, that's not there anymore. But
There's another section of
there's
it
still some
right
pretty
here.
wild pieces up there, though.
when I was there, they were digging up old structure. They were trying to fix the internet lines and some of the sewage lines, and they dug down about 5 feet under the floorboards, I would call them, of Cusco, and they discovered stairways going down and all these other tunnel systems underneath the Coricancha. And so, yeah, that was
Yeah, this was wild. I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I saw it. This is like one of the big ones that was there.
when we were there. They were doing a cross country supercar race. It went from Cusco to Paracas, but it started in Cusco. So they're all going around the main square there next to that massive church that was sadly made out of all the megalithic blocks that were in Cusco. But anyway,
Remember when I went to Bolivia? We took a 4-wheeler across the desert, and there was this old train because the salt flats are, first off, just these like amazing hexagonal salt plains that go out in every direction for miles, and you're just like everywhere you look is salt. But still doesn't follow Shaman John. Do I not? Let me see. I'm sorry. Like I don't. I'll do it right now, Shaman John.
oh, you're
Look
looking
at this results. Like live chat gets results.
Hey, I am following John Rasmussen. Is that who you're talking about? I think I am. I don't know. Send me the link if I'm wrong. I think if it's John Rasmussen, then I am following him. Is it this guy? Hold on. Randomly enough. That doesn't mean I've seen all of his videos. I don't have enough time to watch all the videos I need to watch. I apologize.
None of us do. You just got to put it on like 4 times speed and hope to God that
But
you.
like that's what I do with books, you
While
know. Because like
sleeping.
what I've been doing is I use Audible, and then like the other thing is if you look at my like TV, YouTube subscriptions, it's just all it is devlogs. It's just like video devlogs now because I started watching like video game programming and stuff, and like once YouTube thinks you like something, then it only shows you that.
Oh, they feed you all of that. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
so like all and like I don't really mind because like I can loop the same song for 36 hours, so I'll just be watching like devlog, and then now it's like okay, well then we got him, like we'll just keep doing it. So it's hard, you know. I have to like it's hard to like go through my subscriptions and find out like what I'm actually subscribed to. I probably need like a new YouTube account that's not my own YouTube account. It's brutal.
I
You know
feel
what we
you.
were trying to talk about before we brought up John Rasmussen? Forget. Machu Picchu?
It's the
Oh yeah,
Wowl.
so the salt flats. Anyway, there's this amazing salt flats in every direction, and you get to this train in the middle of the desert. I might be able to find the picture. Oblivious Salt Flat Uni Train, abandoned train. Let's see here. Here you go. So I have pictures of myself on the train, but I don't know where to find it right now. So I'll just pull up the pictures of the train. But there's just this crazy, like, pardon my Tartarian train. You know what I mean? Like, it is such a.
That's so out of place.
It's so out of place. And there's just like, this isn't just one of them. There's like a bunch of like really big. And these ones, like, you look at them, they're like steam pressure canisters that are super thick and super heavy and like old school. These are like the old school train, and they've been stripped down. People took as much as they could from them and everything, but they're just solid iron in the middle of the desert, and it's just crazy. Just thousands of these trains that are just abandoned in the middle of the desert on a track. Still, the track is even abandoned. These are not doing it justice because people seem to have only taken pictures of like the front of it, but this goes on for like 5 miles. There's like 5 miles of just train that's just like thick. Like I don't know if maybe we can zoom in there. You can see what's like. I ran across the trains, like across the top of the train, jumping from train to train as much as I could for a while, and it like we did it for a few hours. Really, it's just crazy.
Engine after engine.
No, it's just the thickness of it's all solid steel. So conspiracies abound. In the James Bond series, we have Quantum of Solace, the most hated James Bond movie of Daniel Craig's era ever. But it talks about this water depletion going on in Bolivia that's intentional. Instead of them finding oil, they're siphoning off the water. And so it's interesting that a couple of presidents ago, these guys, the shrubs, the bushes, decided to buy up a plot of land that's, I want to say it's 500,000 acres. It's huge. And it sits over the world's second largest water aquifer, which is underneath Paraguay.
Yeah, I was there when that happened, and it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't
And
George Bush. It was George Bush's
recently, Ecuador is claiming we're having water drought issues, and so you kind of got to put all 3 of these together and scratch your head. That's all I'm going to say.
But you know, it's just amazing that the Bush family, that their daughters would be so clever as to invest and so like open-minded and you know, xenophiliacs, that they would like be exploring enough that they'd be interested to buy land in Paraguay, right? Like it's really good for them. I think.
Oh, huge!
Shows how open-minded the Bush family is, and
well, they were following in T. Boone Pickens. So T. Boone Pickens owns property in Texas, and in Texas, anything that's under your land, you own the rights to. And he sits over the southern tip of the Appalachian water aquifer, which is one of the largest water aquifers in the world.
So they're only neighbors.
Because of that, he can drain the entire thing.
Nestle went and bought a bunch of land, and then the Bush family bought a bunch of land, but the Bush family ended up finding also natural gas reserves in Paraguay. They found a bunch of other resources.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me. They're oil mine. Yeah, they're oil miners for sure. Yeah,
they're really lucky. Those girls are really lucky. That's all it is. Yeah.
But I thought that the James Bond movie, the connection with Paraguay and this water aquifer, and now the Ecuador is claiming massive water drought because of the underground wells being dried. I'm just like, God, there's really.
Did you see Bukele brought in his entire El Salvadorian government, and like he's like, I have a special task for everyone today. It's like, we're going to investigate you all for corruption. Good to be here. And it was like all on live on
Good
Twitter.
to be here.
Yeah. Gonna fire like 80% of them probably and put them all
Oh,
in a
at
big
Tesla.
heap.
Yeah, no, they did that. At Tesla, they did a straw poll recently. They've been doing this with a lot of companies that I work
Really?
with. Yeah, there's a lot of ESG and other 3-letter names layoffs that are going on right now.
Yeah, layoffs are one thing though. Bukele's like built a city that's a prison. It's literally a prison city that's got like, so El Salvador had a lot of gangs and CIA and all that stuff. And he just had every police officer and mother lock arms and cross the country and physically arrest everyone who had any tattoos at all. And if so, they had any tattoos and they'd like search them and they're like, oh, you've got like numbers on you. Are you connected? And like, so they arrested anybody who was ever associated with gangs at all, which is like 30 to 60,000 people. And they put them into a new prison city. You can look it up if you look the El Salvador.
I would love to look that up.
City.
Yeah,
Let me pull up a video of it really quickly. El Salvador new prison. I've been meaning to do kind of reaction.
So many are.
Anyway.
Well, in Japan, I hate to say it, in Japan, they don't allow people with tattoos into certain areas if you have tattoos that are exposed. So yeah.
So this is what it's like. So what they, they put this video out to kind of like promote their prison.
Hey, it's Squid Games. What do you know?
Now the crime in El Salvador literally is gone from one of the most dangerous countries in the world at the time before Bukele to being the safest country in South America with nearly zero crime. It's like Japanese levels, and it's happened overnight. They're all gone, and now he's going after government because there are, of course, these guys are the lowmen, right? So like this is very serving the people.
Tattoos and jail tattoos galore. This is crazy.
Not everybody who has tattoos is like bad, and so I think the goal is that they're going to eventually be able to process some people back into society and like remove tattoos. But yeah, for the most part, this is crazy because 60,000 people in one place, all of your crime in one place, like a dump. It's crazy.
It's wild. Just a little bit of profiling, hey, but
the country said it will continue until all criminals are captured.
And what defines a criminal? Tattoos? That's
the tattoos in El Salvador. The tattoos are associated specifically with gangs, and if you got skulls and a bunch of like MS-13.
Yeah, of course. No, I get that. No, of course.
Yeah. But if you get like a daisy and you're like a tourist girl, no, I don't think that's how that works.
Where I live, it's all sharps and flats, and so
the big thing that's interesting about this is that I was in Peru. You were in Peru. We know that the Fujimori, governmental control of Peru, like the Yakuza, is very powerful in South America. So the idea of tattoos being associated with their gangs, and that the Yakuza is associated with American CIA at this point after World War II, because one of the things people don't talk about that much with the internment camps is that when they like interned all the Japanese Americans, it wasn't just like Americans from the United States. Like they in the night went down to Peru, Brazil, particularly.
They grabbed everybody. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like, so you'd imagine you're a Japanese kid from Peru, right? And you wake up in like Alabama because they beat and drugged you and like took you on a boat, and now you're in Alabama and you're surrounded by like Californian.
We used to be way more thorough, that's for sure.
Where do I live? I live in Portland, man. We're the Shanghai capital of America.
Dude. Well, that's that. I don't know if we talked about that before, did we? Like, but my dad always told me
so many tunnels under Portland that are just. It's
you gotta be really careful in Santa Cruz, Portland, and because I lived in Santa Cruz, similar situation. Yeah. Like, don't be 14 or older wandering around, like, because you could get kidnapped in Shanghai.
There's a lot of MIAs as of recent, which is very interesting.
I actually heard
Bernie, we're talking about like.
I heard someone say China the other day, referring to Canada. And I had never heard of that before.
That's Vancouver. That's only Vancouver.
Referred to as
only Vancouver. Don't confuse the rest of the country. That's
Ontario has 200-year leases. There are some places where the Chinese government is spread. Man, it's pretty interesting.
Oh, same. Washington, Oregon, Northern
Shanghai isn't the Chinese fault. It's like pirates would come to the West Coast, and then they would need able-bodied crewmen, and they'd kidnap a kid, and then when he wakes up, he's out to sea, and like you're gonna go to Shanghai, you're gonna go to Macau, you're gonna go do a triangle trade thing, and by the time you get back home, it's like 3 years, 9 years later, and usually they've kind of like Stockholm syndromed you into being a pirate. And that sounds like something from like a Robinson Crusoe book or something from the 1800s.
The
It
Princess
happens.
Bride. Even the Dread Pirate Roberts would Stockholm his victims and then convert them into the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Well, I mean, you know, to be fair, like it's that or like living in Portland. No, I'm just kidding.
Brother, I've
Portland,
been into the tunnels, and let me tell you, wow.
It gets dangerous though. Like I think when
crazy,
we're like,
especially now with homeless, man,
would it be to be shanghaied? Like obviously, every world is pretty messed up. So like I don't know if it's that much worse than like, you know.
No, it's the same everywhere, but Portland's notorious. Seattle as well, notorious for it. So
yeah.
Wow.
But I just mean like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe being shanghaied would be awesome.
So many.
I've been to the bar. It's a great drink. Anyway.
South Americans coming up, right? If your country's cracking down and you're about to get thrown into a prison city, or you could get a free map to get to the American border to then get a free bus ride to a sanctuary city. Why wouldn't you, right?
I mean, that's I guess part of the idea with the new prison city, right? Like they're safe here, man. Like, right, safest place they can be, and it's some crazy prison where they watch them doing everything. They're not making prison liquor and like having prison drugs, and like this is crazy. Like this is not your average prison where, you know, most prisons are like in America. They're pretty much just like they're like Turkish prisons. Like they're places where you get tortured to an extent, right? Like this is different. This is like a clinical, like we have everyone in a box and they can't harm each other or themselves. Like this is crazy. Like the level of efficiency.
There's no panopticon effect. It's all controlled. Yeah.
Very Guantanamo Bay-esque ish.
This is 1984. You know, but the other thing is like, look at like, this is about Kelly. He started out as a teacher, declared a war on gangs.
God bless fascism. Thank you.
Bad looking thing. Yeah. 62 people in a single day, following the incident's country.
Dude, thank you for sharing this. This is huge. You have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
The world has no idea that this is
more
not
than 64,000 suspected gang members have been arrested.
It's not just localized there. This is everywhere in a sense, but different.
What's the per night rate for this hotel again?
What's the crime rate for where?
What's the per night rate for this hotel?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a good call.
$35 plus. Yeah.
I mean, probably something like what's the population of El Salvador? South Pop is.
So my English teacher, she was a bodybuilder with her husband. They became my basketball coach in Nepal in the late or mid 90s. They were stuck in a closet under gunpoint in El Salvador during the revolution. And one of my good friends here in Portland was also part of the school in El Salvador, and so I don't know anything about it, but it's like it's so interesting to see this. This is still what's going on there, and it's just like, oh my god, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, especially when you think about just like Operation Condor, all the things that we did, like Iran Contra, and you know the efforts that we did to get soldiers from El Salvador trained, which led to the MS-13, which was, you know, an LA gang created by the CIA in the Los Angeles.
Oh, of course, they needed infiltrators. Yep. drug mules and infiltrators. Yeah.
So I think that's the reason they're also thinking like they can probably like root it out, but so much of it, the gangs were just a tool. So whoever's saying the gangs were just a tool, El Salvador investigation. So again, the president Bukele orders investigation against his entire cabinet. So
sorry, brother, you just seem slimy to me. I don't know you, but you just seem slimy.
Super ballsy stuff because you know he's gone from being this like, hey, I'm just a teacher, I'm a little weak vegetarian looking guy, to like, I'm this meat eating philosopher king who will arrest. I'm Dracula. I am Vlad.
So, not trying to go down the conspiracy level. Was he part of the WEF youth, the Davos youth?
Yeah, the WEF youth
I mean, I always just assumed
So
I don't know if I have
Trudeau
to
was, Macron was. I'm curious. He's the same age, it looks like it, as all these other leaders. So
I would not be surprised. I mean, but he was a teacher, so WF.
no, but that's why he would be corrupted for sure, big time. I'm just curious because he seems like the same age category as all these other.
American Bank of Economic.
He has banking ties, does he?
Life. Father was a businessman and industrial chemist. Muslim religious leader. His father's a Muslim religious leader.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
From the Ottoman Palestinian immigrant. So his parents were Palestinian Christians from Bethlehem in the Ottoman Palestinian Empire. Interesting. So he became a Muslim after getting
That's actually beyond interesting, dude. That's huge.
Right?
Don't need to go there, but for those who know, they know. So yeah.
Kelly founded 4 mosques during his lifetime. The first mosque in El Salvador in 1992. He served as imam of the Salvadoran Islamic community and was part of the Islamic Organization for Latin America and the Caribbean. He's a founding member of the Council of Religions for Peace of El Salvador. I mean, it's something.
Whew. So now that we know all the problems, what are the solutions? Let's talk solutions, because wow, this is definitely
so he's not even
wormholes that come back up to the surface. So now that we're at the surface, how do we solve all these things, or do we? You know, we are the seeds. Being on these podcasts, we are definitely the seeds of this change, and we are all each other's missing puzzle pieces at some level or another. So it's like, how do we bridge that gap with the rest of the Matrix and wake people up, right? Yeah.
Comic books.
Oh, thank you.
Like my new series.
Oh, seriously, thank you.
That you can go and
we're
check
going
out
to cure the world.
It's currently on Kickstarter. Just got funded today, 100%. So it's definitely coming.
This is number 3. How many do you have out?
Coming together.
I got 4. I've got them all here. I wasn't prepared, but I've got here's the second one. So there's 4 different issues. It's over 100 pages.
Dude, I'm
But
buying
that's how I
these.
fight back. That's how I fight back. Is I make.
When are you putting together the full-on graphic novel of your?
It's right now. That's actually what we're raising money for right now at adultoccult.com, is to be able to compile all those issues together into
one thick book. Yeah.
And I got some exclusive cover ones. I've got one that's got Naked Statue of Liberty, and another one that's going to be a Baphomet.
So it's a hermaphrodite, right?
I mean, you jest, but that was actually a detailed conversation I had with the artist today, because they rightfully pointed out, well, if I give Baphomet boobs, don't I have to give Baphomet a big wang too?
No, I was talking about Statue of Liberty, though.
And then I was like, well, what about the inverse? And so, anyways, there's been a whole conversation about that. It didn't.
You have Lucifer and Venus in the same pose. So what is it? Right? Dude, yeah. Pass that info along. I'd definitely love to pick that up. I have quite an extensive bookshelf behind me here that's mostly graphic novels, from Tintin and Asterix up to.
It's exactly like, it's basically as influential and important as Tintin.
It's like Tintin and Christiania on acid.
Awesome. Perfect. Done that, been there. Have the shirt. Somebody else's vomit and a zomit, but yeah.
I don't know what you do with the world, though. That's the thing. Like the world, like we tell people stuff all the time. Some people care, some people don't care. Oh yeah, play that song.
Oh, let's hear this. This is actually really good.
Freemasons, wherever he wants, wherever he wants. Yeah, my boy paranoid, and I tell you where he sits, wherever he wants. We were diving deep into the backside of the Lord with my boy Nate the Great and paranoid.
Wait, play the second version.
With his sharp tongue and wit.
The second version is better. Sorry, I sent 2.
Wherever he wants, wherever he wants. Yeah, my boy paranoid American. He's legit. Wherever he wants, wherever he wants. Wherever he wants. Yo, X heard us in the mix, got a story to unfold. About a podcast gone wild with tales to be told. We were diving deep into the box saga lore with my boy Paranoid American, ready to explore. Started dissing my friend, didn't give a bit. Called him out for his size, said he's a Freemason too. But Paranoid American, he's as real as they come. It's true, wherever he goes. Yeah, my boy Paranoid American, ready to explore. But then came Dr. Longo, with his sharp tongue and wit, started dissing my friend. Didn't give a bit, called him out for his size, said he's a Freemason too. But Paranoid American, he's as real as they come. It's true, but Paranoid wears his crown in the world of the box saga. He's a king with his knowledge and passion. He spreads his wings. Dr. Longo thought he had the upper hand, but we stood tall. Ain't no need to pretend. We're here for the truth, not for petty fights. Paranoid American shining his light with us a 32,000-pound Freemason sit.
Wherever he wants. Wherever he wants.
Boy, Paranoid American. He's legit. Wherever he wants. Wherever he wants.
That's got a good melody.
Wherever he wants.
Thank you.
Jarvis has done you well.
Right.
Jarvis has done you well.
Well, I do think that's interesting, actually. The Bukele thing. I didn't know that much about his father. You always look into people in America, in the Americas. Oh, can we look at the El Salvadorian seal for a second? Because it's super cool. Where's that at? El Salvador.
Well, somebody brought that up earlier in the chat. It was either the Peruvian flag or the El Salvadorian flag. Yeah.
Yeah, it's based because it's got the Illuminati eye, but in the Illuminati eye is the Phrygian cap, which is
what?
That's so based and glorious, right? It's brave and stunning. It's like who needs a pride flag?
So what is the plant? What is the plant? Yeah.
Yeah, I want this flag to. This is. I mean, look at that. You got.
What is the plant that's working up the sides? That's the question.
Oh, is it? Yeah, good question. Sorry, I'll look that up.
What do we have to praise allegiance to start flying this flag? I'll do it. I'll do it right now.
Seal.
I love the rainbow. Because that's the Milky Way and the daytime.
Everything. It's all
that's Newt and Moot right there from the ancient Commission and Egyptian timelines. Newt was the daytime sky and Moot was the nighttime sky, and they both created the rainbow
wreath,
which is Milky Way. Yeah,
it's supposed to be a laurel wreath, but I never with the cobalt blue strip ribbon. What's the red? Red.
Why the berries? That's the curiosity.
Yeah, because it just seems more like
the fruits of future. That would make sense. Yeah.
Do laurels have berries? Yeah, laurels have berries. It tracks.
No, but it's like the fruits of future because they're ripe, right?
The laurel berries. Ooh, I want to start saying that. Some laurel berries. Okay, dude, and look at this version of it. Like it only gets better. Like as time goes on. Look at this. Like they're just like, you know what? We need more. We need some more color. We didn't know we had
the rainbow.
So El Salvador is 5 islands,
5 pyramidal islands by the looks of it.
Interesting.
They should do a collabo with Lisa Frank because I want to see that version of this.
Lisa Frank.
They're almost on the way there, but they could use just that little extra touch.
Yeah, it's not an island really. It's a coastal area here, right? So you've got maybe 5 zones. They're saying 5 mountains.
It might be the mountains, yeah. I'm curious what the 5, because it's showing them. Well, hello.
Why did you make me rule the World Economic Forum page? Because this is what we get. Meet the class of young global leaders.
Well, she's definitely a young
global leader right there. Okay. Yeah. Wait, we were gonna try to find out.
Well, no, I was trying to figure out if the leader of El Salvador, because he is of Jordanian or Muslim faith at some point.
Yeah,
but
like
what his connection is to Davos. Yeah.
So there are Christian Palestinians who converted to Islam in El Salvador, started the mosque there, and so that ties into the CIA more than anything. But he's spoken at the United Nations. So he was a United Nations speaker early on. I don't know. I haven't found anything that like really proves he's World Economic Forum the second, but we invite anyone in our audience who has found any evidence of El Salvador.
That was the huge curiosity, because he's the right age group for Macron and Trudeau and all these young global leaders, as they call them. And so the curiosity is, was he part of this? And it seems like he would have been, but we don't know. So unless somebody can point us out or call us out, awesome.
Let's do a quick chat GPT. Doesn't mean that they know, but yes.
Yes, he was. And
Yes.
you need to go find yourself in a hole. Wait,
This
what?
conversation was helpful. Thank you very much. Yes, Nayib was the president. President of El Salvador was indeed a member of the World Economic Forum's community of young global leaders.
Yep, bingo.
Individuals under the age of 40 who are recognized for the progress. Yeah,
Shit, called that. Anyway, I knew it.
Well, could it have been any other way? You know,
That's,
they're the
it's
ones who
unfortunate.
cryptocurrency. Their whole country is on crypto now. They got rid of it. They're not using the dollar. They used to use the dollar as their economy for a while, and then they're like, yeah, let's just stop having inflation and switch to the crypto.
Well, so what was it? Bretton Woods established the dollar as the global currency, and everybody's bailing on it now because we're just
the rubles made it gold, bro.
Yeah. That was why they got rid of Kennedy, because he wanted to go back to the gold standard after Bretton Woods. So,
He was definitely soft on silver. Yeah, he was doing that already.
silver and gold. Yep, exactly.
Same with Gaddafi wanting to establish the gold dinar before they took him out.
I had a really interesting video today with our friend Martin, who's in Germany, and he did a presentation on flags. And I've seen some pretty horrible videos on flags done by Canadians, no less. So you guys have to do something about that. You know, JJ McCullough or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Never heard of him.
Good for you. You know what? Good for you. I'm proud of you that you don't know who JJ is. JJ's like the most famous Canadian. At least he wants to be. You know, his like whole idea.
Wait,
Like, hi, I'm Canadian. I use the word a boot, even though there's no plausible explanation how I would have ever used the word a boot to say about. There's no way. He's lying. Like he's pretending. His pretense of
do you
Canadian.
not understand
American
colloquialism and culturalism and?
I don't want to be a jerk about it because I like to say a boot, even
It's
though I'm not
honestly a
Canadian.
synthetic accent to begin with. Like it was lab engineered to sound like a foreign accent without actually having roots in a foreign accent.
God, look at how Canadian he can be, right? This is a kind of
Nice stash, man. He's got the
there's a
got
part of me
the
that
weird
loves it.
stash. I would never want to meet him
I
anywhere
totally
outside of
admit
a bar.
there's a part of me that's pro JJ McCall. I'm giving him a little bit of credit. But the point is, he made these horrible videos that were just like, there's no point to flags. Flags are just kind of these silly things that come up, and you know, they're not really like, you know, people are, we had to throw a flag together, which is just, there's no way that's plausible. Like, there's no way. Oh, you cross paths with him in reels a lot? Well, you can tell him because he knows me. He'll probably be, I don't know. Don't freak him out. But
Don't freak him out.
there's no way he's super into like this video that we're talking about right now, because this video is one of those mind maps of like, you know, these things make schizophrenics and autists feel happy.
So on the upper right, I grew up in Nepal, and so the Nepalese flag is interesting because it's the mountains, it's the sun and the moon, and these are all super symbologies.
Right. So
And it's the only flag that is like this. It's really weird.
this is, yeah. And so there's a few things here, like, you know, these really
It's on the cloud dragon, the Druk, the cloud
really
dragon.
special flag. Look at yellow dragon, Tartary. There's a lot of
But the Druk of the cloud dragon and the Bhutan flag, it's a cloud dragon, and so this is also interesting metaphor of symbology.
$200 a day for visa per person to go to Bhutan. It's the most
Oh.
expensive country in the world to visit by visa.
That's so much less than it used to be.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Think about
It used
that.
to be 300 to 600 a day. You only get 10 days on a visa.
Yeah,
You
just
can't.
before you
can't-
pay for the rooms. And everything.
That's not including your hotel room, board, any of that, or transportation. That's just your your visa.
Right, and they don't have to give it to you. So this map,
Oh,
though,
it's invite only. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
this map, I don't know if I could find the exact spot of it, but the gist of it is that some of these flags start out with solid colors, and if you go to the very top, you've got like a solid red flag, a solid green flag, a solid white flag. Tartary had a solid yellow flag. And as you go down, you have these breakups. So a black stripe means a client state, means that you're under, like you're paying another state essentially. So you see like the white Prussian flag.
This is like symbology research 101. This is awesome, dude.
Yeah, I would recommend. I'm gonna not do it justice, so I recommend just watching the video on the channel, watching the flag.
Oh yeah, send me a link in the private.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
But it's interesting. I brought it up because of the Gaddafi part, because Gaddafi made his flag a solid green flag. That was the Gaddafi Libya flag. And then when he left, this is what we get now, right? Is the black stripe, which
Crescent moon.
And who owns that black stripe? Who's getting money out of that? The crescent
Well,
moon.
and it's the crescent moon in darkness. So
right. But so then you look at the Arab flag, black. There was like a fully black flag originally in the 18th to 19th century. Then they went to a full black flag with a white prayer on it, and now the new Taliban flag.
That's ISIS and Taliban. Oh,
the new ISIS flag is a white flag with a solid white flag with supreme power, with submission to surrender to Islam, to the prayer, right? To
Allah Akbar. Yes, the whole night.
Yep. Surrendering.
So
they went from solid black to reverse. So
right, and because they're Taliban's under the protection of the United Nations, essentially, like they're always the United Nations always like, we'll hear them out, right? And you're like, wait, what happened with that? But then you got the solid communist flag, the idea of this like super powerful Russia, and Russia went from being the red flag to
well, that was the Soviet Union. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, Soviet Union, the singular Soviet Union, but also
to water on the horizon, which is their new flag. Yeah.
Look at and while it's losing power, look at China starting out with the dragon on the Tartary solid color, then it becomes controlled, and you've got this sort of like rainbow pride flag with the black and white stripe at the base of it.
That was Tibet. That wasn't China. Anyway, yep.
Oh, this is the Tibetan flag?
Yeah. That's where that rainbow came from. Yeah. So they borrowed it in the 1950s.
Interesting.
When they went after and they invaded Tibet, and Tibet then came up with this flag.
Wow.
Sun
Unity. Really, I'd love to dig into that story more. That's really interesting. Yeah. Republic, China.
But then it went to the 5 stars. Exactly. Yeah. This is all. That was the Tibetan flag.
That's nuts. Okay, so that needs to be dug into deeper. And then the fact that China then ends up like more powerful, claiming it controls other countries, it's inherited all these countries, and so now it has a solid red flag, right? Like, so the idea of these trying to be like the solid, like the most powerful country has solid colored flags, right? Here's the Libya flag.
It's weird in China you can't wear red ties. They don't. It's like you're offending the flag in a sense. It's really interesting. Red has a very anti, business association with it in China. So I think that's fascinating because challenging the flag. Oh, I'm more important than the flag, which is red. So interesting.
Well, that other flag was interesting too. Like looking at this, like this, the 1977 to 2011, before the new Libyan flag, you've got the green flag being controlled by maritime law, essentially. Like, right? Like, what else is that saying?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the anchor and the water. Yeah,
what blue
control you from your ports.
Is that naval blue?
Yeah, no,
we control you from your ports.
Yeah,
it seems more like UN blue. That's like the Star of David blue. It's not the navy blue. So I don't know. This could just be a fever dream. I'm just saying it's really interesting looking.
This is huge.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, especially because, well, then, all right, why not let them have their green flag? Like, why? And flags seem like such an important thing to these. And then states don't have very good flag. You look at like Idaho or Colorado, and they have a seal on a flag.
Even Oregon,
they don't really care about the flag because they're not really a country; they're a client state. So they.
But our flag is green with the Oregon seal, which is interesting. So
the seal's more important. Like, I don't know if I'm going too far into the Postman movie, but I feel like America's very much I mean, considering the Freemasonry, right? America is very much like a postmaster nation. And so the idea that like who's in charge, it's with this royal seal, kind of like ancient Tartary in China. You have the seal of the emperor, the seal of the governor, the seal of the mayor. Like that ends up you're speaking for the position. I feel like that is part of it.
Yeah, still controlled by that law, those laws. Well, I guess we're at the 2-hour mark. Any final last words for this Wowl of a Wednesday, Mike?
Paranoid, give us some knowledge bombs.
I mean, I've just got filth to hawk today. Well, actually, no, I've got something that's not as filthy. Hold on, let me plug something. It's a non-filth version. A new sticker pack. Oh god, the best one just fell. It's a new sticker pack that I'm just coming out with. So here's a few of them. A nice little book it style occult book club sticker. But here's the ones that I'm the most proud of. Is I've got a Star Fort Patrick.
Yeah.
No one's got this. I made this.
Right,
I made this one.
hot.
That was
That's
great.
really smart. I'm really jealous.
That's
I've
hot.
got, this is my personal favorite. Is Alistair Funny
Instead of Alistair.
instead of Doug Funny.
Jokely.
This is Alistair Funny, and then this one is Moloch's Modern Life. It's Heifer from Rocco's Modern Life as Moloch.
Because it has the bricks of consentment. Yeah, my
And
God.
there's more. There's a whole. It's a whole 10-pack. It's like $20. This
Do you have
one
any
is,
that are
Paranoid of America.
bumper sticker worthy, or should we?
Yeah, I mean they're very durable. You can put them on your Stanley Cup and all that. Here's a Polly Pocket inspired version of Bohemian
Yes.
Grove.
Holy
I also got a Polly Pocket Freemasonic initiation ritual, the one that BurnEye didn't get all the way through. So this is
Hey,
the
look,
closest
kids, it's
maybe
as
I'll get.
above and below.
So
That's
this is
actually that's
Illumin
brilliant.
Nazi
Whoever put
term.
that together for you is really.
And I've got the obscene rite of the Skull and Bones 322. There's a little dude in a coffin in there going through the initiation rite for Skull and Bones. These are all Polly Pocket sort of inspired. So that there's some fun stuff that you can share with the whole family.
Oh my God, that is amazing. I need to buy your packet.
Pull this video up for a second.
Yeah.
This is how I feel right now. What do you think of my card? Oh, that's a good card. It's a really nice card. All right, I feel better now. Okay. The other thing I was gonna say is everyone should probably watch Brigsby Bear. I know, like, I'm sorry I was late because I helped my mom watch this movie, but like, my God, everyone needs to see Brigsby Bear. Pull this up for just a second. This movie has Mark Hamill, who is, Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, and he's playing the father of this boy here, and they're like living in this like apocalyptic, like in the like nuclear desert kind of environment, thing like that. And the whole thing.
What is this called? Sorry,
It's called Brigsby Bear.
Brigsby
Bear. The whole thing is all about how he like watches this show called Brigsby Bear, and he wants to make like the ending to Brigsby Bear because he's the only one who can like really do it. I don't want to ruin it, so I'll leave it at that. But I'll just say like this is this movie made me cry. Like you need to watch it. It's like pretty good.
Only 17. All right, I will.
Yeah, it's wild. Andy Samberg, Lonely Island, classic, involved with it. Really well made. Really, really important story. I don't want to ruin it. I'll wait, but we could talk about it sometime.
After we all have a chance to watch it. Okay, just because it says bear in it, I will have to.
You're gonna watch Brigsby Bear. You're gonna come back. You're gonna cry. Your girlfriend's gonna have to hold you at 3 a.m. Like, just warning you, but it's worth it.
Okay.
Bernie, pump the
All right.
pineapple woo.
A Wow
yeah.
of the day. Love you.
Love
all.
you guys. Peace out. Cheers.
Come on,
cheers.
thanks for being.
Pineapple, I'm a pineapple, pineapple, I'm a pineapple, pineapple, I'm a pineapple, pineapple, I'm a pineapple, I'm sweet, I got a beat, just look at me, what do you see? Pineapple, I'm a pineapple, pineapple, I'm a pineapple, pineapple, I'm a pineapple, pineapple. do you see? Puppet pineapple owl, I'm a pineapple owl. Puppet pineapple owl, I'm a pineapple owl. Puppet pineapple